I suppose that'll do. Happy Tuesday, everyone. So angry newsman Jim Acosta announced on air that he's leaving CNN. He now works for the same highly esteemed organization as his former colleague, Don Lemon. The Trump White House has unveiled a new Twitter account to hold fake news accountable. It's called Rapid Response 47, not to be confused with Rapid Response 46, which is how many times they called 911 when they thought Joe was dead. President Trump has recently floated the idea of sending nearly 90,000 newly hired IRS agents to the border. The drug cartels welcome the news, saying, finally someone less popular than us. Illinois Governor Jay Pritzker says he'll stand in the way of deportations that he feels break Illinois law. He also says he'll stand in the way of anyone who tries to cut in front of him at Sizzler. He's a big fat guy. On his first day on the job, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth declared no more DEI at the department. And you're already seeing a big change. Instead of Take Your Daughter to Work Day, you now have Learn to Kill People Month. Trump has signed an executive order banning transgender troops from the military. They will be reassigned to the Bravo channel. Such a gay channel. I can tell you don't watch. So with the help from the Taliban, the Biden administration spent $15 million to hand out contraceptives and condoms in Afghanistan. This after failing to convince the goats to go on the pill.
I knew that was coming.
But I guess the Taliban is cool with condoms. I mean, why would they take our advice on how to pull out? Wow, I know. John Fetterman drew outrage from the cast of The View for claiming Trump's New York hush money trial was politically motivated. I guess The View thought he was one of them because he also weighs 300 pounds. And finally, the CIA now says a lab leak is the most likely explanation for the COVID-19 pandemic. Great news for lovers of bat soup. All right. Let's do a monologue. Okay, Greg. So it seems like the Trump-led Republican Party is kicking ass and taking names. I haven't seen this many changes since puberty. Now, I know this is the part where I'm supposed to say all politics is cyclical, that the Dems are going to come back storming in the midterms, and it could be true, of course. But it's also possible that in a game of one-on-one, I could dunk on Barron Trump. But you know that's not true. Right now, the Dems are lost, wandering in the political wilderness like Joe Biden in the rainforest. Maybe we could turn that into a reality TV show called Naked and Afraid of the Truth. They're like a bunch of California politicians standing around watching the houses burn. No plan, no leadership, nobody to tell them what to do. So what's left when you're left with the one tool that your elites taught you? Well, you get this cover story from New York Magazine that bashes young righties titled The Cruel Kid's Table. Because, of course, for the left, it always goes back to the cafeteria in high school. And it takes the new MAGA generation to task for being happy, hopeful, and so-called normal. But in the piece, the writer paints them as creepy, white, and racist. Especially white. As white as Steve Ducey at a nude beach. But the writer, Brock Collier, couldn't rely on facts for that observation. The Rag had to resort to some heavy-handed photo edits in which the magazine reviews blacks from the cover photo and the party. The writer even quotes a partygoer without mentioning that person's race. He could have, but then there goes your byline. It's no cover story if it's black and white. But according to young black conservative C.J. Pearson, who actually hosted the event, there were black partiers there that the magazine either cropped out or carefully avoided for its cover photo. That must have been awkward, you know, asking the blacks to move out of the photo because they're ruining your narrative. They're like a really specific wedding photographer. Just the bridesmaid, now just the parents, now just the white people. So who are the racists now, bitches? Of course, this ain't new. It's just another retread of an old attack. But it's even more pointless because no one is buying it anymore. This beast has been slayed. So why are they still playing this tune long after the song died? It's too easy to say because they have nothing else. Because this time it's different. Sure, you could always pick any issue and it would be the same. Crime, immigration, social events. Underneath it, it's always going to be the racism. But now there's a helplessness to it. And the helplessness is due to a total reliance on outside forces telling you what to think. And now that outside force has been decapitated. That voice that told them Trump was Hitler, or men could shower with girls, or Taylor Swift was a 6 when you know she's a 5. That voice has vanished. The progressive bat signal has been turned off. And writers like Brock, they're on their own. When no one is giving them marching orders, they run around like non-binary chickens with their cut off. And so they pretend to report, but wonder bitterly why everyone else seems so different from them. And by different, I mean free and happy. Because they're thinking for themselves. Look at that cover. The people that the left hates, they look awesome. And most of all, fearless. You can bet they aren't looking over their shoulders for cancel cops. Hell, they even invited one to the party, the writer from New York Magazine. So in these happy faces, you see people who weren't waiting for a bat signal. They weren't slaves to the external voice, the fear of social stigma unleashed online by a tiny group of unstable shut-ins who claim to be journalists. All this Trump energy is fueled by that repudiation. Trump freed America from the slavery of paralyzing groupthink, which was the empty, sad life that the elites exploited for status and wealth, that wokeism, the fear of the smear. And now it's all gone. And all you have are the pathetic few who wait for their marching orders from somewhere, anywhere, please. Meanwhile, the rest of the world parties on. And you could bet they aren't thinking of you, dear writer. And that's what hurts most. When you make your life about identity, it hurts that no one cares. As everyone realizes you have nothing else, and you become a party of one. Let's welcome tonight's guest! She's like a ray of sunshine, bright, warm, and loved by nudists. Co-host of Outnumbered, Emily Campagno. He's got more faces than a watch factory. Actor and comedian Jim Brewer. Her mood changes are as drastic as her pants are temporarily elastic. New York Times bestselling author and Fox News contributor Cat Tube. He's like bingo, because old women love to shout his name. New York Times bestselling author, comedian, former NWA champion. Emily, I'm fascinated by the reaction to every issue and problem from the Dems because they seem headless. And so their reactions seem like they're from a dying world. What say you, Emily?
Yes, it's almost like when you watch those sci-fi movies and, you know, the cyborg in charge, you know, you shoot the arrow and you kill the thing in the middle and all of a sudden the millions of robots don't know what to do before they all fall down. Mm-hmm. And I see it the most, I think, with the dismantling of the federal government, of the bloat. What I love the most, actually, is the IRS agent thing going to the border, because to me, that's sort of emblematic of the entire thing happening, this shift, this freedom from groupthink that everyone was paralyzed from. It permeated our government. And reminder that the IRS spent your tax dollars to the tune of $35 million on military-style weapons and artillery and military gear. Why in the do IRS agents coming after your money need to have military-style weapons?
Because they're stealing it.
Because they're stealing it. 10 million of that in the last 5 years. So the fact that now it's like, oh, okay, you want to play Rambo? I've seen firsthand them show up in pairs of 2 around the country to claw back your income that they thought was theirs. Go ahead then, play Rambo at the border. Play Rambo where it really matters, which is protecting Americans, not from you, but from actual threats. So I love the fact that regardless if the Dems actually sort of resurrect themselves and come back in some kind of force, if they find anyone that's actually articulate or intelligent enough to lead them, there's not going to be anything left to mantle. The destruction that Trump is doing, he is totally freeing everyone, and it includes us from the government's bureaucratic hold. top down from every agency, and that is something that they will never recover from because it means Americans will maintain that freedom.
Wow. All right, Emily. Ladies and gentlemen. Wow. Yes. You know, Jim, before Trump came in, you had no problem speaking your mind. You had no problem sharing the risk with other people. Do you envision the people that were around you that did do the same thing will suddenly come around? Are you noticing now in
Oh, they're all coming out.
Yes.
They're all coming out. They got their skates on. And I'm so sorry. Got a couple of those.
Yes.
I just want to say, I never meant to insult voters, Trump voters.
Yes.
I don't like him. I have a MAGA hat right here. No. Oh yeah, they're all starting to come from the groundwork. But on a different note, did your husband ever win any argument? Wow. I mean, I would not. You better be prepared showing up for Emily.
I bet she just got married, so the guy probably doesn't realize what he's in for.
Oh, boy. Woo-wee.
Really? He had no idea what he's in for? Could you imagine her vows?
Yeah.
They would be fast, that's for sure.
Awesome.
Did you start them going,
And
you
legally
guys?
binding.
Kat, do you see what I see, this kind of like incredible, it's like an opportunity, but it seems like it's hopeless. Like, what is over on that other world of the Democrat Party? Did you read this article?
I did.
What did you make of it?
So I think that there's a lot of reasons maybe to dump on the writer. I think that one of the reasons, I do feel bad for the writer for one thing, which is the writer did not select that photo.
Yeah.
That just cropped all the black people out.
Yeah, true.
But, you know, they went there. I thought it was an interesting read because it is a very different thing to be around. And apparently, but really what he was just describing was mostly somebody who was around, jokes that were not politically correct.
Right.
From people who were, by and large, I assume, intoxicated.
Yes. Hanging out at a
Because
bar
they're
while
at- they're
people
at-
are being, like, rude.
They're at the ball,
Yeah.
right? So I'm sure, I mean, to me, you can go to any bar and kind of hear those sorts of things, I would think, in most places.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't know. I wasn't invited to the ball.
No.
Were you invited to any of the balls?
No, I wasn't. I
Were
was
you invited to any of the
ballless.
balls?
Yeah.
You were? I was not
I was
invited.
invited to a bunch of them, but they
I was
had a
not.
dress code.
I was not. Now, I would not have gone, but still.
You would have liked to have been invited to the balls.
I was in bed eating snacks in the hotel. I'm not allowed to do that at home.
Yeah, I do that a lot too. You know, Tyrus, it does feel like there are only a few left that are still going to push the race card and the Nazi card, the Hitler card.
Until they make one.
Yeah.
And that's, you speak the devil's name enough, eventually he appears. When you hear these people who have these platforms that are unchecked, that can go on TV every night and say he's Hitler and he's this, somewhere there's a disturbed individual who's absorbing this, who's seeing the attention, the fame. I mean, we just had a guy shoot somebody in the back, and he was a hero.
Yeah.
So they continue to feed this fire because they just need one. And if that one just happens to have a MAGA hat on backwards, then it was all right. It was all for naught. So while they're censoring and they're saying he's Hitler, you keep saying Hitler enough, you're going to make one. Yeah. And that's why these networks see, why they don't see that. Why did not? If we sat on this network every night and said that Kamala Harris was a vampire, and we just kept doing, well, she was drinking something red, and we just kept doing that, and she was not real, she was not of this earth, she had no soul, we would all be out of jobs and be like, that's a crazy way of talking about another human being.
Well, I've said that about Joe.
I believe that, yeah. And the other thing about the article, real quick, what that person saw was what people do who don't go out like this. Hey, out with my friends, having drinks. No, they were at the bar being an adult, saying adult things. You will hear all kinds of out my mouth with a beer and my buddies that you would not. And if someone brought a camera out, that individual will be thrown out the bar.
Right.
Because you're trying to have a good time.
Yeah, also, there's this aspect of, I'm sure a lot of people wanted to show off in front of the reporter to some extent. I mean,
Yes. Yeah.
it's like a different variation of Girls Gone Wild.
Yes, it's like, watch me use the
Like,
word
without
retard.
the camera,
Yeah.
you notice before the cameras, the girls' boobs were in their shirts.
Yes, yeah.
So,
Yes.
There you go. All right. Up next, he went from the Trump-hating mob to looking for a job.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.